The night of Osman's 18th birthday started like any celebration should, with friends, excitement, and a single $100 chip that felt like pure possibility in his palm. What he didn't know was that this innocent piece of plastic would trigger the most catastrophic financial collapse anyone in his circle had ever witnessed. Within weeks, Osman had transformed from casual birthday celebrant to full-time casino regular. Weekdays, weekends, university breaks, none of it mattered. While his classmates were cramming for exams, Osman was studying blackjack strategies with the intensity of a PhD candidate. He wasn't gambling anymore. He was building what he believed was a career. The irony was brutal. As Osman earned $300 to $500 weekly and immediately fed it back to the casino, his mother was fighting a battle of her own, both against cancer and against the familiar demon of gambling addiction that had already destroyed their family through his father's habit. When she made him swear off gambling, Osman didn't hesitate. He dropped out of university, took a full-time job, and became the family's financial backbone, while his mother focused on survival. For 2 years, Osman was the model son. Mortgage payments, grocery bills, keeping a family of 6 afloat. He handled it all with a maturity that convinced his dying mother to name him executor of her estate. She saw responsibility where others might have seen burden. She saw the future where Osman saw only duty, then she was gone. At 22, Osman inherited everything and carried the weight of keeping his family together. For 6 years, he succeeded. Bills paid, roof secured, siblings supported. He had beaten the odds and proven himself worthy of his mother's trust. But grief has a way of lying dormant, waiting for the perfect trigger. At 27, what should have been a simple dinner at the casino became something else entirely. Walking past those familiar tables didn't just bring back memories, it brought back hunger. Instead of walking away, Osman walked in. And with that first step, he began the systematic destruction of everything his mother had built, and everything he had preserved. Day 1, $1,000 gone. Day 2, $6,000 vanished. The pattern was established, and the amounts would only grow larger. Within a month, Osman had burned through $30,000 in personal savings, but this was just the opening act. His family, who trusted him completely with all financial decisions, became unwitting participants in his destruction. $100,000 in family loans disappeared within 6 months. When that well ran dry, he turned to friends, convincing them to invest $50,000 in what they believed was his business. 12 months after that casino dinner, Osman was $200,000 in debt. But he was just getting started. 3 personal loans totaling $80,000, 2 maxed out credit cards worth $25,000. Despite winning $80,000 in a single night, despite a $70,000 online jackpot, despite multiple 5-figure victories that should have been escape routes, Osman kept feeding the machine. When the loans were exhausted, he liquidated $50,000 in shares at a $6,000 loss. After paying some debts, he took the remaining $30,000 straight to the casino floor and lost it all before sunrise. That's when the loan sharks appeared. The first offered $20,000 against his $65,000 car, with $2,000 weekly interest payable in a month. The money lasted exactly 2 bets. 3 weeks later, his best friend handed over $26,000 to save the car, still believing Osman's lies about business troubles. 4 weeks after that, another loan shark offered $30,000 with the same punishing terms. This time, his partner begged him to walk away. Osman ignored her. The money lasted 3 days. The car was gone forever. By now, the only solution big enough to match his debts was real estate. Osman put his first investment property on the market and waited 6 months, only to learn the bank would use excess funds to reduce existing loan balances. Desperate, he convinced his sister to apply for a $40,000 personal loan while he prepared to sell his second property. That loan vanished as quickly as all the others. When the second property finally sold, Osman paid off his family and friends, left with $160,000. This time would be different. This time he'd be responsible. he committed to limiting himself to $10,000 monthly withdrawals. 16 months later, every penny was gone. At 31, Osman had lost 2 properties, his car, and still owed the banks. But the urges weren't satisfied with his $500 weekly budget anymore, so he did what once would have been unthinkable. He put the family home on the market. The timing couldn't have been worse. Melbourne's property market had crashed, forcing him to sell at the bottom. Just before his 32nd birthday, the house sold. He handed his father and sister what they considered generous sums, but these amounts were microscopic compared to his gambling losses. The guilt payments changed nothing. His family moved into rental apartments, Osman moved in with his partner, and then, with painful predictability, the inevitable happened. Within 12 months, every dollar from the house sale had been fed to the machines. $500,000 in cash, representing the entire family fortune, vanished before Osman's 33rd birthday. His relationship collapsed. He had nowhere to live. His family was renting because of his decisions, making him too ashamed to ask for help. His friends had become strangers. Every morning brought the same crushing realization. He had failed his mother's final trust and destroyed a $1.5 million legacy in just 5 years. The boy who had once saved his family had become the man who destroyed it. The executor who had preserved his mother's estate had become the gambler who obliterated it. In the end, Osman learned the hardest truth of all. Sometimes the person you trust most to protect everything is the same person who destroys it all. But Osman's story isn't unique. Gambling addiction doesn't discriminate by age, gender, or background. Another anonymous account shows how quickly success can transform into devastation when the right person meets the wrong addiction. At 22, Desiree had everything most people spend decades trying to achieve. A brand new Mercedes-Benz in the driveway, a luxury apartment with her name on the lease, and savings that would make financial advisors jealous. She was living the life every young woman on social media seemed to want: parties, friends, shopping sprees, and a boyfriend who treated her like royalty. But success at 22 can be dangerous. When you have everything you want, the natural question becomes, what's next? For Desiree, the answer came in the form of blackjack tables at a California casino. What started as occasional entertainment quickly revealed itself as something far more sinister. The first losses stung, but her boyfriend was there to soften the blow, handing her money to cover what he thought were typical nights out with friends. He had no idea that, while he imagined her laughing over cocktails with girlfriends, she was actually sitting alone at casino tables, chasing losses that grew larger each visit. The deception was effortless at first. Going out with the girls became her perfect cover story. Her boyfriend never questioned it. What he was actually funding, however, was an addiction that would systematically dismantle everything they both valued. $7,000 in a single night became her new normal, then $10,000. Each loss felt temporary, each session felt like it would be the one to break even, but the night she lost $20,000 in one sitting should have been her wake-up call. Instead, it became her new ceiling to chase. 24-hour sessions became routine. Same clothes, same makeup, same desperate hope that the next hand would change everything. Casino employees knew her by name, not because she was winning, but because she was reliably losing. Security guards watched her stumble between tables and clothes she'd worn for over a day. Makeup smeared, chasing money that was already gone. The girl who once turned heads for her beauty was now memorable for entirely different reasons. By age 24, the Mercedes was gone, lost not to gambling directly, but to an accident she couldn't afford to fix. The luxury apartment that once represented her success was now hanging by a thread, with eviction notices replacing the pride she once felt, unlocking her own door. But the most devastating losses weren't financial. Her boyfriend, who had unknowingly bankrolled her addiction for months, finally discovered the truth. 3 close friends followed the same pattern. The friends didn't leave because they stopped caring, they left because Desiree had stopped being the person they had cared about. Every conversation eventually led to requests for money, whose every plan secretly revolved around getting back to the tables. The girl who once had everything had learned the cruelest lesson of gambling addiction. The house always wins. If you would like to anonymously share your story, click on the link below or email me at stingy551@gmail.com. As always, remember to be stingy when gambling.